Union Development Officer. The Union Development Officer leads on events, fundraising and sustainability. They work with USU's events team to create events and foster a socially responsible student community. Hello, my name is Joe Brearley and I'm here with James Driver, who is running as a candidate for USU's Development Officer. So first of all, how are you doing this evening, James?
Good, thank you.
Very good. So we'll get right into your manifesto. You have promised to keep the money USU spends on events low to ensure students pay less. What would you do to make sure USU events are cheap for students and for the union? And does that mean cutting the events budget?
No, the first thing we need to look at is can we keep things at cost so we're not having to add value to events that means that the university or the union as a whole is profiteering off student budget, because the union should only ever break even if it's in the interest of students for it to do so.
So you also want to ensure, as you said, that USU does not profit from cost of living measures. Do you think it currently profits unfairly from the cost of living crisis that faces students?
I think whilst many of its measures are necessary and services that it provides, we need to look at where can we cut things and where can we put money back in students' pockets, because inflation, whilst it's decreasing, is not decreasing at a level that is sustainable for students to have the student life that they deserve to have. So let's look at yes, things are working, but how can we cut it further and make it more efficient? Everything that sabbatical officers should do should be about efficiency in the interest of students.
What kind of areas do you think are spending too much in USU? What areas would you cut back?
You look at sort of the events like day-to-day spending. Can we reduce the price of food and drinks in USU bars? Can we look at venues and reduce prices coming off subsidies? And is there ways we can negotiate grants with the university in order to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, carry on.
We've seen we could do that. Look at for example the rent grant. You know, it was an effective measure brought in. Can we do that back to day-to-day spending in campus venues? I think there is a way to go about doing that.
So you talk about campus venues and obviously campus events. So what practical steps would you take to plan an event that is considerate to neurodivergent and disabled students first? What would you do to make sure they're at the forefront of those events?
I think at times, whilst I understand there is difficulties with legalities, with the York Party's contracts, there is events put in venues that are frankly not accessible. Can we look at ways to negotiate York Party's contracts in a way that puts accessibility at the front of the York Party's contracts and how we are working as a union? I think we can do that.
Do you think there's any venues that could be used that are more accessible to students?
I think primarily, like, there is, as we've seen, 20 or 30 venues that are accessible for purpose. And I don't think as a union, with our values and with the values that I want to put at the forefront of my campaign, I don't think we should be giving profits and financial help to venues that are not supporting students and supporting accessibility and the public good that we say we want to achieve as a university, what we want to put at the forefront of a union, not as a corporate slogan, but as a way of what we do.
Yeah. So one of your key points as well in your manifesto is to get USU carbon neutral by 2030. How would you go about cutting carbon in the student union by, as you say in your manifesto, 30%?
You've got to look at the way that all buildings operate. I think we're in a time where that's the way that they're operating is increasing fossil fuels. We've got to look at, can we divest from fossil fuel industries? We've got to look at getting back towards the 2022 report that I might add is a university report that came out that said York is not achieving its sustainability targets, and to achieve its sustainability targets, we need to be looking towards a 39 to 52% cut in the next 2 years. Frankly, to be able to do that, 30% is a compromise figure.
So what kind of actions would you take to cut carbon then? What activities would you change, and how would you reform events to cut carbon with that in mind?
I think you've got to look at social. I think you've got to look at all aspects. You've got to look at even the way the curriculum's delivered. Can we work with regional partners? Look at what the combined authority are doing in North and North Yorkshire. It's going to be coming in May. Look at the way they're looking to invest in the university, bringing in more green jobs, changing the way that buildings operate, changing the way that we move around the city. Can we tap into that? Can we work with whoever is elected there to bring together a plan that works for all students, all staff, and the whole community?
Okay, so another huge part of your role as development officer is events, specifically in venues, but you don't mention in your manifesto the university's campus bars and venues. Do you think they need to improve or reform, or do you think they're good as they are?
At the end of the day, looking at efficiency, looking at how we improve, that has to be at the forefront of my role. Nothing is ever good as it is. We have to look at, there is always greater efficiency, and there is always ways to achieve outcomes for students, put them at the forefront of what we're doing, and put the union at the heart of being a leader in all of its aspects.
So you say there's no such thing as something being as good as it is. So can you think of a bar or a venue that needs improving in any way?
I think all venues can. There is ways you can look across the board at everything we are doing to look to improve both student experience, accessibility in places that's not accessible, and as I say, going back to the first part, which links into all of this, affordability, accessibility are at the very core of the student experience. Going back onto something you've not mentioned yet, but I think is important to bring in, is the idea that we're looking now at a time where pressures on students, as I've mentioned, mental health support and various things in them arenas, you link everything together, and actually education experience, social experience, it all links together. And the only way we can do that is putting ethical considerations at the core of what we are doing.
Okay, so you also say in your manifesto that you want to collaborate with local government organisations to ensure stronger community links. What government organisations do you plan on working with, and how will this work to improve the quality of life of students in York?
So, one of the main things you've got to look at, North Yorkshire Combined Authority have just signed a deal, regardless of who is elected, for 30 years of funding into York and North Yorkshire, with funding which is sustainable because it's all been signed. There is documentation that shows that we will get more funding as a result of devolution deals. I think we can improve on that. Jobs will come with that. When you have businesses coming into the city as a result of new jobs, you're naturally going to be able to attract more talent. You're naturally going to have more opportunity in the economy, and I think naturally in a university that is research-led, you will naturally end up with better jobs, which will improve the experience of everyone, strengthen the economy, and then make things more affordable and make things have a better quality of life for students.
I'm aware that our time is running out here, James, but I've got one more question for you, and it's just one word, and it's, if there was one adjective that you could use to describe yourself, what would it be to make you the best candidate for this role?
Driven.
Very nice. Is there any reason behind that?
I think I've proven when I led.
I'm really sorry, James, but we're about to cut out, so I'm really sorry to cut you off, but that's all we've got time for. So we're going to go over to Blue for our next candidate with Tolan Enderby.